everybody, I'm Kenna.
I'm Ty.
And we are TKC Travels.
We just returned from a 7-day Caribbean cruise on the Carnival Glory.
And we are going to tell you everything we think you need to know before you sail Carnival Glory. We boarded the Carnival Glory in New Orleans, Louisiana. We consider New Orleans to be our home port because it's within driving distance of our house. We've done several cruises out of there. We've spent time there just exploring the city many times. We enjoy the food, the architecture, and the culture. We love sailing out of New Orleans. We think there's something there for everybody, whether it's catching a ball game, visiting a museum, or an art gallery. There is an aquarium that's very kid-friendly. The World War II museum is there. So we really enjoy New Orleans.
New Orleans is a very fun city, especially you go down to the French Quarter and the square. You might even get put in a street show like I did one time. It was the last thing I ever thought I'd be doing in New Orleans, but it was about an hour worth of fun.
Yeah, we also enjoyed the itinerary that the Carnival Glory took us on. It was Western Caribbean. We visited Montego Bay, Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and Cozumel, Mexico. So what did you think about Montego Bay?
Montego Bay it's one of those ports you just pull right up. There's not a lot there at the port. A lot of people don't like going to Jamaica. We actually love Jamaica. We've flown into Jamaica several times, into Montego Bay. But I just recommend going on a ship tour in Montego Bay.
Yeah, it's not a port where there's a lot of activities at the port. There's a little shopping village that's like one strip, and that's it. And like I said, I would not just get off the ship and go get in a taxi and take off. The second stop was Grand Cayman. It is a tender port. That can be kind of a hassle. You have to get up very early most of the time when you visit Grand Cayman and get off the ship and be back on the ship pretty early. We booked a short excursion through the ship for that reason, so that we would have a spot in line to just go and get on a tender boat and go to our excursion rather than waiting in line with everyone that didn't have an excursion booked. The third stop on our itinerary was Cozumel, Mexico.
Cozumel is a very visited port. We've been there many times. Most cruises, especially all the cruises out of New Orleans, is always going to stop at Cozumel. Very large port. You don't even, if you didn't want to go on a tour in Cozumel, there's plenty to do, plenty of shopping to do, but there's just so much Cozumel has to offer.
Yeah, we really love the all-inclusive beach clubs in Cozumel. That's something that's kind of unique to Mexico. There's several of them. This time we visited Paradise Beach. We've been to Mr. Sancho's before. There's several others. You can get a taxi at the port. As long as you get it there at the port, it's very safe, and you go to a reputable beach club. You know, you can feel comfortable doing that. That's what we always do. It's not very expensive, maybe $60 or $70 for all you can eat and drink all day on the beach. Most of them have a pool, and sometimes there's some extra activities for a small charge. Okay, so let's talk about one of our favorite places on the ship, and that is the spa. We spent part of the first sea day getting a couples massage. We got a 75-minute Swedish massage that we purchased pre-cruise for $379. You can save a little bit of money on spa treatments if you book them for embarkation day or port days. And even if a spa treatment is not in your budget, you can use the saunas for free in the spa area. You can use the workout area and the showers that are in that. The massage itself was great.
Yeah, the massage was great. There was a couple of things that we noticed about this spa that was a little different than some other ships we've been on. Normally they have a relaxation room that you can set in before the spa ever starts. They've got drinks and things in there to relax before you go in. And also, another thing we noticed was during the massage, the kids club?
Yeah.
The kids club was up right above the rooms, and they had some activities going on, so it was a little bit loud, during the massage. They offered to reschedule them if we wanted to, but we were nice enough that it wasn't worth it. We went ahead and just done the massage. That way they didn't have to try to work us back in.
Yeah, like he said, there was no relaxation area. We'd had to wait in the lobby of the spa where people were coming in and booking appointments until it was our turn. And then they just took us straight back to the room. There was no dressing room. We had to change right there. But you know, it was okay. It's an older ship. I mean, there's going to be quirks like that to be expected. We were feeling great and relaxed when we left. Okay, so speaking of kids, we cruised during the summertime.
It was the first time we have ever cruised during the summer. We normally cruise during the winter. And to say kids, yes, there was a lot of kids.
Yeah, and that, you know, we had our own kids with us. It was great for them. They made a ton of friends that they still keep in touch with. But it does change the experience a little bit for the adults.
Yes, especially on sea days, because a lot of times on sea days there's a lot of nice lounges around the ship that you want to go sit in or just hang out, and you couldn't hardly find a seat at any of them.
Now, the only real quiet area on the ship was the Serenity Adults Only area. That area was great. It was 2 levels. There was plenty of loungers. There was a bar. A couple of hot tubs, and it was 21 plus only. It was a really appreciated venue on this particular cruise.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a great ship. I mean, great time. It was hot, you know, hotter than normal. I really didn't know the Caribbean could get any hotter, but it does during the summer. Music was really, really loud on the ship. We like loud music, but even to sit at the atrium bar, you had to yell literally at the bartenders just so they could hear you to get your order, because like the violin music was so loud, and we always enjoy listening to the violins, but that was one thing I did hear made, you know, comments about the music was just a little louder than normal.
Yeah, I agree. So another area on the ship that's normally one of my favorites is the Lido deck, but on this particular ship, on this particular class of ship on Carnival, I'm not a fan. The way it is set up is almost like stadium seating.
Yeah, and it takes up a whole lot of space on the Lido deck. It cuts into the room for the sail-away parties. Trying to watch the dive-in movies. We like to go watch the movies, but if you're sitting up there in the loungers, we have noticed a lot of railings that obstruct the views.
Yeah, at the sail-away party, I usually like to get out there and, you know, participate and dance, but I only made it through like 2 songs because there was just so many people in such a small space. It was just hard to even move.
Yeah, and you can also, I mean, in our first video when we sailed away, I had a good video of the sail away party, and it was packed. I honestly don't think I've ever seen a sail away party so packed where people couldn't move, but like I said, there was just not enough space. It was very limited.
Yeah, it wasn't that it was more people, it was that it was a smaller space for the sail away party to take place.
Now we'll move on to the nightclub. It was a very large nightclub. Nightclub had plenty of room, large bar, but there was one thing I did notice about this nightclub on the summer cruise was I would say 75% of the crowd was 18 to maybe 22 years old, which made it tough because, I mean, us old folks, we like to cut a groove every now and then, but it was a good nightclub, and it was definitely rocking. Probably the most rocking nightclub I've been in on any cruise ship. Let's move on from the nightclub and let's go to my favorite adult spot, the casino.
Yeah, we like to try our luck every now and then when we go on the cruises, and Carnival in particular can be very generous in future cruise offers and stuff they'll give you when you're on board the ship to people who rack up enough points in the casino.
One thing I did like about the casino on this ship, it was a very large casino. It had probably the biggest bar that I think I've been to in a casino. And one thing I did notice, that they've done, I guess since COVID's been over, is the casino bar is non-smoking now, which was nice, and I think the workers probably enjoyed it. But there is still smoking in the casino. It's at different machines, but the machines are all intermingled throughout. The smoking, the non-smoking. So you do still smell the smoke, but it's not as strong as it used to be. They have a very good selection of machines.
Yeah.
She likes the penny slots, and I like the big slots. At least, you know, I mean, if I'm going to give them all my money, I might as well go big.
Yeah, I don't really like to gamble a lot, but I do like to play. And, you know, I've been on some ships where there's very few penny machines with a low minimum bet, and though they're usually full. And this ship had quite a few, so I was always able to find one that I was comfortable with. And they also have card games and table games. If you're into that kind of stuff, that's there too.
Yeah, and they run different, you know, several events throughout too, you know, that you can join in on. We don't ever do them, but they do run different events throughout the day. And one thing about the casino, it is always closed at the port, and it's only open when you're in international waters.
One thing that I noticed on this ship was there was no Red Frog Pub. That is a venue on other Carnival ships that we really enjoy. It has live music. They usually have draft beer. It's just a big area to hang out. The closest thing the Glory had was a Skybox sports bar right outside the casino where they showed lots of sports games. It was usually pretty quiet.
Yeah, it honestly was probably one of the more quiet venues during the day that I think we went to on the ship. I don't know if people just didn't realize it was there or what, but it was very quiet usually.
Yeah, probably the best entertainment on the ship was the comedy shows. Carnival does a really good job with their comedy. They'll bring in comedians that you might have actually even heard of. We obviously travel with family, so we like to go to the family-friendly PG-13 comedy shows with our kids, and we really appreciate that Carnival offers something that we can go with, that our kids can enjoy, but that we can enjoy too.
One thing I would suggest going to the comedy is be sure to get there early. And I mean an hour early, you know, and sometimes I didn't even leave early enough. It gets so crowded, so packed. We've seen tons of people get turned away, but it's worth it. I mean, the comedy's that good to sit in there and wait on it to start.
We only went to one production show in the main theater. It was called Getaway Island. It was just okay. We thought it was going to be like a stage performance of Gilligan's Island, but it turned out to just be they performed and danced to a few songs, and there was no real storyline.
Yeah, we've tried to go to several different Carnival production shows, and the people in them, don't get me wrong, are good, but we've just never really gotten into the Carnival production.
Yeah, you know, some other cruise lines, they have more of a Broadway style show, and we really enjoy that, but, you know, just the singing and dancing, there's so much more going on the ship that's more entertaining to us that we would rather spend our time doing.
The first sea day was a very hot and humid sea day. We were going to go out, try to hang out on the Lido deck, but I'm just going to be honest with you, it was very miserable. So we decided to try to do something we've never done before, and we attended our very first art auction.
Yeah, we've always enjoyed art. When we travel, we like to go to art galleries. We like to go to auctions in general at home, but we've never been to an art auction before.
No, the art auctions were very fun. So we went to the very first one. It was on the first sea day, just to see what we could learn, see how the art auctions go. I mean, with us being from the South and farming, I go to farm auctions, never been to an art auction.
Yeah, we were just going to check it out. It turned out to actually be a lot of fun. They had art for sale that started at $100,000. Of course, no one bought it. And then they offered a piece that started at $10 and ended up going for $55,000. You know, that got everybody hyped up, but what you don't realize when you buy that $55 piece of art is when you come home and receive it, it's not going to be framed, and it's going to cost several $100s to have quality framing. So you need to keep that in mind.
One thing I did notice that was a little different was, and I think I want to point this out, when you go into the art auction, you sit down, it's very energetic, the people that work there are very energetic, but they give you time to go look around at the auction. That was one thing I'd never seen before. They give you a deal that you can put stickers on prints, I guess, that you would like to see in the auction. They already had like 100 pieces that were going in the auction, but you could pick out something that you wanted to see in the auction specifically.
Yeah, and we did end up buying a couple of pieces. I mean, behind us you can see this Peter Max. This came from the Park West art auction on the Carnival Glory.
Yes, and we bought several other pieces of art. Honestly, more art than I think we ever intended on buying on a ship. But in the end, it was all worth it.
Yeah, you just have to go into it, you know, understanding that these people are very friendly, but they're not your friend. They're there to sell art. You know, don't feel pressured into buying something that you wouldn't purchase on land. And don't pay more for a piece thinking that you're getting such a great deal on it if it's not worth that amount of money to you. And never buy art and expect to get back on land and sell it for a profit.
And one thing I did learn that I honestly didn't realize, that Park West was the auction company. They're a very reputable art auction company, but they also are the same company that's on every cruise line. Any cruise line that you're going to go on is all Park West. That was one thing I found very interesting.
Yeah, and you can go to the art auction. You don't have to buy anything. They'll give you a free glass of champagne just for attending. They advertise that you get a free work of art for attending. We didn't personally receive one, but we didn't ask about it, so that could be the reason why.
But at the end of the day, if you've never been to an art auction, I highly recommend it, because you may be like us and end up spending more money than you intended.
Yeah, or you may go and learn something new about art and have a good time and get a free drink out of it. Okay, so if you watched our Carnival Glory vlogs, you'll notice that they ended after our day in Cozumel. And that is because we spent part of the last sea day on a behind the scenes, behind the fun tour.
That is one thing that you can say I've wanted to do for a long time. When COVID hit, they took it away, and actually this was the first cruise. They had just started it back up when we went on this cruise, and it was 2 to 3 hours. It was a great tour. It was limited to about 12 people. Very, very small tour.
Yeah, it was $130 a person, and you had to wait until you were on board to book it. We couldn't record any of it. There's no photos. You could not even carry your cell phone with you for security reasons, and they checked you before you left. There was actually a couple of people in our group that thought, well, I'll just put my phone on silent and keep it in my pocket. Well, they got caught before we ever left.
Yeah, they started us off. I mean, we met in I believe it was the library, and they gave us our passes. We had lanyards that, you know, had everything on it that said who we was, what we were doing. When we walked out of the library before we ever started the tour, that was the first metal detector, and they probably metal detected us several times throughout the tour.
Yeah, I know we went in the engine control room and we were checked before we went into there. We got to meet the chief and first engineers. We obviously didn't get to see the actual room that has the engines in it for our own safety, but it was like something out of a movie to see all of the gauges and all of the monitors and everything that was going on the ship.
Yeah, we got to go down to deck 0 where the crew is. We got to see lots of stuff that honestly just amazed me that you never see. We did learn that the crew has their own lounge with a bar.
Yeah, it has TVs in it. It looked like it had maybe some pool tables where they can hang out, play games. They had snacks and drinks and even like alcoholic beverages for sale. But they did say that the crew has to be under the legal limit on a breathalyzer at all times, just in case of an emergency. So there is a limit on how much alcohol they can consume or purchase.
Yeah, we also got to go, where all the food was stored, see the food part, see where all the liquor was at. Honestly, I knew there was a lot on a ship, and that's a big room. We got to go into the backstage, see the dressing rooms, see kind of how the production shows start, how they practice. It was very interesting.
Yeah, our guide was actually one of the dancers from the production shows. That was kind of her side job, was to conduct these tours.
It took us, we got to go to the galley, we got to meet the chef, the pastry chef, got to go all through the galley, see how all the food's prepared, how it's made, how it's laid out, and honestly how all your servers pick your food up and get it so fast.
Yeah, what was so interesting to me, being someone who has owned a restaurant in the past, they had the line where people pick up their food. They actually had photos hanging in each section, so to show what the plate was supposed to look like, so that the server would know if something was off.
Yeah, it was like I say, it was very interesting. We got to tour the laundry room. Never saw a sheet folding machine before, but I'm gonna say it was probably the neatest thing I've ever saw. It halfway dried the sheets and it folded them too. It was very interesting to go down and see those parts of the ship. Honestly, those are some of the hardest working people on the ship that you never see, that go very not appreciated, I don't feel like sometimes.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening. It ended on the bridge. And when people say that the view from the bridge is the best view on the ship, they're absolutely right. I wish we could have taken a photo. The closest thing we have is that we were able to take a photo with the captain on the bridge. And that was included. We were given a copy of that included in our tour price.
Yeah, and we also got to take a group picture out on where the crew has an area on the front of the ship that we got to take a group picture with our whole tour group there. And then we ended it, I believe, at the steakhouse. They had every one of us a goodie bag with some of the behind the scenes fun memorabilia.
Yeah, I think they offered mimosas or juice, and that was the end of the tour. And when we got back to our room, we had a plate with some desserts on it. That was a complimentary gift from the pastry chef.
One thing I would like to add about this tour, if you're not, I would say, in the greatest shape or have problems walking stairs, that might not be the tour for you. I mean, it's literally 3 hours on your feet. Yeah, we got to take the elevators a few times, but there's parts of the ship that you don't, and it was a lot of stair climbing that was involved with this tour.
Yeah, it was definitely was not an accessible tour. Okay, so overall, my final thoughts on the Glory. It is an old ship. We did notice some rust and some areas that need repainting. I think the Glory set sail in 2003 and was last refurbished in 2022. You can tell it needs to go into dry dock again, and I think Carnival actually has that scheduled for the spring of 2024. The food on the ship, we actually had some of the best food on Carnival that we've had.
Yeah, the food was, I didn't go in with high expectations. I mean, Carnival food's good, don't get me wrong, but we've had some bad. And this was honestly the best Carnival food we've had yet.
Yeah, and aside from the buffet in the main dining room, it had your typical included options of Guy's Burgers, Blue Iguana Cantina, the deli, pizza and barbecue. And then it has a couple of upcharge places like the steakhouse and the seafood shack. And this ship also had a sushi at sea, It was just a little window you could walk up to and order sushi rolls, and we went there like almost every day. It was really good and really reasonably priced.
And also at the Sushi at Sea is the omelet bar in the mornings. They will fry you eggs and make you omelets at that.
Yeah,
It's
that-
kind of hidden there.
Yeah, that was really great too. And the service was great for the most part. That's something we've come to expect with Carnival. That's why we sell Carnival. You know, the atmosphere of fun is what makes the vacation. We did notice there were a few staff members that, you know, their attitudes could have been a little bit better, but they were few and far between.
Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, Carnival is called the fun ship. And there is always something fun going on. Every corner you turn, no matter where you're at, there is something for everybody.
So, would you sell the Carnival Glory again?
Yes and no. It would all depend on where I was at and where I was going.
Yeah, I agree. I would not fly to Florida just to seek out the Carnival Glory. But if it was going to a bucket list destination like Europe or Alaska, I would totally sell on the Glory to those places. And, you know, this trip, we chose it because it was a convenient port. We could drive to it. You know, it was in New Orleans. The price was right. And we got what we expected out of it. And if that was what I was looking for again in the future, I would go on her again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't a bad ship at all. It was, you know, like she said, more of a convenient ship for us. But if we're going to fly, we're going to go to probably a newer ship, a bigger ship, and, you know, see where we go to.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions about anything we've talked about or anything else about the Carnival Glory, leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you.